programming off of iTunes.
Yanked is such a pejorative term.
Well, I'm going to get more pejorative. I want to know how it felt to give Steve Jobs the finger.
So, as you can imagine, it's inappropriate for me to talk about ongoing negotiations with any particular distribution partner. But let me give you.
No, hold on. That's a statement right there. You're saying you're having ongoing negotiations with a distribution partner.
Yeah, many distribution partners,
including iTunes.
Well, we have a film distribution with iTunes.
I noticed that.
Yeah. So yes, we do talk to Apple. Yeah. So here's what I would say about distribution in general across digital platforms for our products, and maybe even beyond digital platforms. There's really like very few rules about how we like to distribute our product. One of the rules is that we like to control the wholesale price of our product. It's just the way content gets distributed on, well, every platform in the world with the exception of one, right? So the way it generally works is we set a wholesale price, and then the distributor gets to determine what the retail price is, and they can mark up our product and make a profit, or they can use it as a loss leader to get people in the door, or they can variably price to see what the perfect price point is. But we're actually precluded from setting the retail price, so we're just happy to set the wholesale price. It's really difficult for us to work with any distribution partner that says, here's the wholesale price that we're going to pay you, and here's the retail price, and you don't get a say in either of those. That just doesn't make any sense for us long term, especially when the price probably doesn't reflect the full value of the product. You know, I think guys in the music industry would have a lot to say about, you know, how the pricing of their product has sort of affected their industry over the last couple of years. So we, you know, we want to do business with people who want to help us distribute, but in that model where we have wholesale price flexibility. Number one.
You're setting the wholesale price for films then, on iTunes.
Yeah, it's inappropriate for me to talk about any particular distribution deal, but
you are distributing films on iTunes.
Yes, and that deal was done in the last couple of months.
And NBC demands to be able to set the wholesale price when it distributes its content outside of it.
You sure you weren't a lawyer?
I thought about it.
Yeah, both of those statements are true.
Okay, so so there's still the opportunity to get back on iTunes with television programming.
We'd love to be on iTunes. We think iTunes is a great customer experience. We all have iPods. We all walk around with them and use them, and we'd love to figure out a way to distribute our content on iTunes. I would say there's one other thing that we generally like to have partnerships with when we're talking about the distribution, particularly on digital platforms, and that is one of the big issues for NBC and for all of the major media companies is piracy. And you know, we lose a lot of money, and you know, we are financially harmed, you know, every day by piracy. And what that results in is it results in us not being able to invest as much money in the next generation of film and television product, and that doesn't work for anyone's benefit. So we're active in trying to combat piracy wherever we can.
But just so I'm clear, we were talking about iTunes. There's no piracy concern there, is there?
Well, again, without talking about any particular partner, I would say if you looked at some of the studies about MP3 players, especially the leading MP3 players, and what portion of that content is pirated content as opposed to legitimate content, and then you think about how that content gets onto those devices, it really has to go through a gatekeeping piece of software, which would be a pretty convenient place to have some anti-piracy measures that would give someone the opportunity to buy the legitimate copy if they're trying to upload the illegitimate copy. This is something that, you know, we work with our ISP partners when we distribute our content through ISPs. It's something that Hulu was actually able to negotiate with all of the distribution partners, that if we're going to give you access to our library of crown jewels, you know, our best stuff, and we're going to actually financially incent you to help people find that stuff, then you have to make sure they're not getting the illegitimate version. And it's a carrot or a stick, right?
Yeah.
You could say, we're going to sue you if you don't take that pirated material off of your website. Or you could say, and this is again some of the pre-work we did in setting Hulu up, you could say, here's the legitimate copy and you're getting paid a revenue share on that. If someone watches the exact same episode and it's the illegitimate copy, you make 0 cents. So where's the financial incentive? The financial incentive is to make sure someone that's trying to do this gets that.
Yeah, okay, great segue to YouTube. So what's the current state of the relationship between NBC Universal and YouTube?
I think YouTube is a fantastic promotional vehicle for a lot of our product, a lot of our film product and some of our TV product. I think YouTube has established itself as the market leader for amateur content, and I think there's definitely a market demand for that. I think the demand is probably, appears to be greater because up until pretty recently there wasn't easily accessible, consumer-friendly premium video in the same sort of terrific user environment that YouTube provides for amateur content. So I think that balance will shift a little bit. I think at the end of the day, people will more often than not want to see professionally produced content, but there'll still be a market, a significant market for amateur content, and they're the market leader there, and we wish them well.
So are you actively using YouTube as a promotional vehicle, actively placing trailers and whatnot on YouTube?
We use all of the video aggregation sites. So there's that exclusivity that we talked about with respect to Hulu. There's a carve out for short promotional tune-in kind of content, and we distribute that ubiquitously. And certainly, if you're distributing ubiquitously and you're not on YouTube, you're sort of talking out of both sides of your mouth. So.
But you're not putting a full episode of anything voluntarily on YouTube.
No, they get up there every now and then, but we're certainly not putting it up. Hulu would be the one that would put it up for us. Hulu and YouTube to date do not have a distribution agreement in place.
I see, okay. And how big a concern is piracy on YouTube right now for NBC Universal? How much theft is going on?
I would say it's significantly less than there was several months ago, and it's to YouTube's credit.
I was going to ask if you thanked Viacom for that at all.
No, I think no. They're doing what they're doing. We've chosen a different path. I would say that the threat of a lawsuit is not going to get people to do the right thing. I just don't think that's the way to move the needle.
And that's as a former litigator.
Yeah. For me, you have to create the right financial incentives, and you have to partner on technology and be decent, good partners. We buy a lot of ads on Google, and we're a good partner of theirs, and they're a good partner of ours, and they realize that it's creating some technology that allows us to sort of get a lot of the otherwise pirated material from NBC Universal that would be on their site off of their site before it's displayed to the public. It is a good end result for them. So we've been working with them on some technology, and I think now if you search for Heroes or The Office, the amount of content that you see compared to what you would have seen even a couple months ago is significantly less. So I think they're making a good effort, and we respect and appreciate that. I would say, the best defense for that stuff is a good offense. It used to be that at the end of Saturday Night Live, YouTube would have the clips up quicker than anyone else because we just didn't have a process in place to make that available to people quickly on a legitimate site. And you can fight that all you want, but until you provide people a place to go, at 1:05 a.m. East Coast time that has the digital short, it's going to be tough to convince people to not go to the other place.
Is that what time digital shorts go up on NBC.com? No, I'm curious for Saturday Night Live.
They go up very quickly. We're actively trying to figure out technology that will immediately put the stuff up on Hulu and on NBC.com and make it the best user experience as quickly accessible as possible. I was using that as a euphemism, but the idea is I truly believe that if you provide an incredible customer experience and you do it in a way that that you've given as much flexibility as possible to the user to interact with your content as possible, that they'll do the right thing.